Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? As we wait for folks to join us, just want to say happy to be in community with all of y'all again tonight on this Wednesday night for our member meeting. Real quick, just a couple of housekeeping things, and I'll be repeating these a couple of times as folks begin to trickle in. One, this meeting is being recorded. This is for us to be able to play it back for people who are not able to be present with us right now. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. Go ahead and turn your video off, but we will be recording this meeting. Also, a feature that we have is our transcription. So there is live transcript available for this meeting and all of our meetings moving forward. So if you don't know how to use that, on the bottom of your screen where you have like your mute button, your video button, participants reactions, there's a more option. If you click on those three dots, you'll have a list and you can view transcripts or view, you have the option that says show subtitle. This allows you to get the live transcript of the meeting. So if you need that feature, please by all means use it. And then we just ask folks to please stay muted if you're not speaking. That way we're not overpowering other people who are speaking. And I'll get us started with an overview of the agenda in just a moment. But if y'all want to go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. If it's your first meeting, please let us know that it's your first meeting, but let us know where you're joining us in from tonight. I know we have some people who, are traveling and things of that nature. So let us know where you're joining us in from tonight. And if it's your first meeting, we'd like to know.
Hey, yeah, this is my first meeting. I'm joining from Sacramento, California.
Nice. Welcome, Rachel. We're excited to have you.
Hi.
Hey, little buddy.
Hi.
And it's also good to see a lot of our familiar faces from some of our outside organizers. Hi, Adrian, Christine, Larry, Stephanie, Mireya,
Hello.
Friends.
Yes, it's nice to see everyone. Hey, Crispy. Hey, Ricky and Vanessa.
Hi. This is actually my first meeting. My name is F.A. and I'm joining from El Centro, California. As a matter of fact, I was waiting for another meeting, and all of a sudden I ended up in here. I was wondering who are these people, but I checked I checked the name. I know I registered for this, but it clashed with another meeting, a work meeting that I was waiting for to get into, and all of a sudden I found myself here. But I'm glad to be here. I've always wanted to attend the meeting since last year, but I never had the opportunity to, so here I am.
Lovely. Welcome. We're so happy to have you, and we're happy that you stumbled into our Zoom meeting tonight. Definitely welcome. And we have some more people in the chat joining us from like other locations as well. So thank you. And thank you, Mackenzie, for recognizing the native land and where you're joining us from. We definitely appreciate that. Just real quick, again, this meeting is being recorded. So if you do not want to be recorded for any reason, please turn your video off. We do have live transcript available. It's the more option with the three dots in the bottom corner. In just a moment, we're gonna go ahead and get started with our healing team leading us in a breathing exercise. Tonight, though, what we have in store for you is, of course, our welcome and welcoming new members. Then we're gonna go over some updates from the organization and from our committees. Then we're gonna have a discussion and breakout groups amongst one another. And then later on this evening, at around 7:45, we have Assemblymember Ash Kalra, who's going to be joining us. So we have a very exciting night in store for everyone. And again, we have a few people rolling in, but welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and start with a breathing exercise from Miss Rashida.
Hello, welcome everyone. Let's see, I have a new Mac laptop, so I don't know how to navigate it just yet. So let me find some music on my phone because It is not, but welcome everyone to IJ. We like to always start our meetings off with grounding, breathing, just to allow ourselves to be present in the now, right? Life is happening all around us. So we have been busy throughout our days, and we like to set the tone with breathing. So I ask that you all get in a comfortable position wherever that may be, whether it's in the car, driving, on your couch, and just plant your feet on the ground and try to sit straight up where you allow yourself to breathe here. And if you can, like, soften your gaze and close, which means just close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And simply just follow my voice. And if it's better for you to cut your camera off, then I suggest that as well. Okay. And I'll
Oh, Rashida, you're on mute.
sorry. I ask that you take a breath with me, inhaling through your nose for a count of 3. You thank your higher power for just being present. I would like to introduce you now to what's the present moment, thanking the universe for your present moment. There's a theme that I've been thinking about lately, just embracing life. And when was the last time you literally just said thank you for the ability to wake up, to see, to smell, to feel, to taste. And I want you to sit with those thoughts, breathing in and breathing out. When was the last time you acknowledged the power that we have within, right? Because we all have power, we all have purpose, and we are all here for a reason. In and exhaling out. I ask that you all give yourself grace, give yourself love, and again, just embrace the life that we live. And the reason we are all here is to do the work and to free our loved ones. And in order to do that, we must first be intentional with ourselves and enjoying and embracing the little things. Breathe in, power, and exhale. Breathe in love, and exhale. Breathe in patience, and exhale. And then the last 3 breaths, I ask that you inhale all of the things that you need in this current moment. And when you release all of the things that no longer serve you. How can we be present? How can we continue to show up for ourselves? How can we continue to show up intentionally for others? Breathing in, Exhaling out. Breathing in. Exhaling out. And if you can, just give yourself some love, a hug. And remember why we're in this work and why we do what we do, right? And if you ever need any support, the Healing Committee is here for you. Nobody's free until we all are free. Let's continue to do this work together. Let's learn, let's love, and enjoy the rest of our meeting. Thank you for having me.
Wow, Rashida, thank you so much for grounding us. That was very beautiful, and I just want to say thank you. I felt that. You said to be grateful for little things that we sometimes, don't, we take for granted, to be able to taste, be able to see, to be able to feel. That was very powerful. So thank you for that. I I felt that very much in my heart today. But this is not about me. This is about us here at IJ. So welcome everybody to our July 2021 member meeting. Wow, we are halfway through 2021, and we have celebrations to ring in that we'll be hearing about later on in the meeting. But just thank you for being here, joining us tonight, to be with us and to just hear about what we're up to, how you can get involved, and to celebrate with us and help us continue to build on the work that we are doing here at Initiate Justice. We, at the very beginning, acknowledge some first timers that are attending their very first meeting. So welcome to folks who are joining us for the first time in this virtual space. We hope that you will enjoy the vibes that you will feel tonight from our members, from our team. Excited to have you all with us. And to everybody that's going off in the chat with letting us know where you're tuning in from tonight, thank you. We like to go back and read the chat with intention. We like to know where people are coming in from. So please feel free to use the chat. And we try to get to the things that are in there tonight, but if we don't, we'll always try to come back and email you with the question that maybe was left unanswered. So thank you for joining us tonight. You'll also be hearing more about Rashida and the Healing Committee as far as like events that they have. So if you enjoyed that exercise that we just went through, you'll have the opportunity to participate in others in the month of July. Then they'll share that with us in their committee updates. But first, to start off our meeting, I actually wanted to recognize some new outside members here at Initiate Justice. So for folks who are here for the first time, we have a membership structure where folks who are here in the community on the outside of prison walls, we call you outside members. And in order for you to be an outside member, you'd have to attend 3 out of 4 consecutive monthly member meetings, as well as be active in at least one of our committees, which you'll be hearing about later on today. But those are some of the requirements that are needed in order to become an outside member. And so our outside members are inducted first by being announced on this wonderful platform, and then also sent a welcome package with some Initiate Justice goodies to bring in their induction as outside members. So this month we have 3 new outside members, in addition to 2 folks who just became outside organizers. For folks who are outside organizers, they automatically become outside members upon their graduation. But we had 2 outside organizers who just graduated in June from completing the Institute of Impacted Leaders program and are also outside members. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize our new outside members, Chris Mitchell, Dulce Drysdale, and Irma Cooper, who are members that have been very active in our committees and showing up and helping us with the work that we are doing, but also wanting to recognize our 2 newest outside organizers who also became outside members just by so happenstance last month, Cassandra Yanez and Gina Hernandez. So congratulations to all of you. You'll be receiving an email from me so we can coordinate to get you your welcome package. We're excited to bring you to the IJ fam, and welcome everybody again for being here with us in our home. Su casa es mi casa, or my casa is your casa, but we are all family here. So with that being said, I'm actually going to pass it off to my colleague Antoinette, who is going to go over some organizational updates as far as what's been happening here at Initiate Justice.
Thank you, Daisy, and welcome to our new outside members and also our outside organizers. And just real quick, if we can take a moment, last month we graduated all of our 4 spring cohorts of the Institute of Impacted Leaders for 76 new outside organizers throughout California. So if we can just take a moment and round of applause and welcome our courageous impacted leaders who are now serving as outside organizers in this community. So welcome. I know some of you are here on this call. We're so happy and grateful for y'all's presence. And just a couple of organizational updates that I wanted to share. So just real quick regarding IJ staff, I want to take a moment and just recognize some of our staff who have been with us in various capacities, but have now been elevated to new positions. So Crystal, who many of you know very well, manages our inside membership committee, but she is now our inside membership manager, really serving in the capacity to continue building and developing our inside membership base, managing our mail process and ensuring that all of our inside members who write to us get a response and get a response promptly. She's been gracefully managing a set of over 30 plus volunteers. So thank you, Crystal, to you and your entire team of volunteers and all of the work that y'all do at the Inside Membership Committee and with our Inside Membership Program. And then also another individual who has been just outstanding and a great wealth of support for Initiate Justice is Michelle Cardenas, who came on as our programs associate, assisting in various areas here and there, really just picking up and supporting our different program areas, who is now our communications coordinator here at Initiate Justice. So welcome, Michelle, again as our communications coordinator now. We're excited to see, to all of the heights that you take us as we tell our stories and uplift our stories and shift narratives and culture in regards to prison abolition. So thank you, Michelle. And then another one, it's hard to do this one, but would be myself, who's works and manages our outside organizing program. So our Institute of Impacted Leaders, who's now our outside organizing manager. So I'm happy to work alongside all of our outside organizers and all of our members and continue to increase our capacity here on the outside to match the energy that Crystal and everyone is doing for our inside membership base. So that's just a few updates in regards to our staff here at Initiate Justice. And again, for those who may not know, all of our staff at Initiate Justice are directly impacted, either formerly incarcerated or supporting someone currently or formerly incarcerated. And another update, as you can see, if you have Lee on your screen at all, I'm actually going to spotlight Lee now real quick. Abolition is for everybody. What does that mean? What is that? So Abolition is for Everybody is a new project of Initiate Justice. It is our podcast that launched last month. Many of you were at our launch event. For those that were not, Abolition is for Everybody is a podcast that addresses and tackles the sometimes and oftentimes difficult conversations and themes around prison abolition. So through various friendly chats, conversations with some of the experts in the work of abolition, co-hosts Taina, Lee, who you see here on your screen, and Ra explore the history, the futures, and the obstacles and joys that come along with abolition. So just launched last month. We currently have our pilot episode where you get to meet your co-host and find out what their journey to abolition was. And then also we have episode 1 that's out as well, which is Abolition 101 with Patrice Colors. And so for those who may or may not know, Patrice is an author, a movement leader, and one of the co-founders of the Black Lives Matter movement and organization. And so Abolition 101 is our first episode of the Abolition is for Everybody podcast. And you can catch this podcast on every platform that you get your podcasts. You can also access this podcast directly from our website. If you just go to initiatejustice.org/podcast, you'll be able to access the podcast, listen to it, open it up on one of your most comfortable platforms, as well as you'll be able to check out the transcript for each episode, some discussion and self-led discussion questions. And there's even an option at the bottom of that page to leave us feedback. How do you feel about these episodes? Is there something that sparked your interest or something that you even might want to know more about? Please also support and follow the podcast on all of our social media platforms. So you can catch the podcast, follow us on social media on Instagram at abolitionis_. You can catch us also on Twitter at the same @name, abolitionis_, or you can find us on Facebook at Abolition is for Everybody. So the episodes air every other Friday, and actually this Friday, July 9th, is our next podcast release. So episode 2 with Eunices Hernandez is going to be released this Friday, y'all. So for those who haven't listened to episodes, the pilot episode and the first episode, make sure you take a moment to catch up, because we'll be tackling the decriminalizing of drugs this week on Friday. Definitely check out the podcast and find really just some support in those discussion topics and really just addressing some of the questions. We know that abolition a lot of times is more questions than answers, right? So this is a friendly space where those questions are being addressed with conversation and dialogue amongst abolitionist experts and our co-hosts. So definitely join us and support the podcast. And I'm going to pass it on to Daisy.
Thanks, Antoinette, for those updates. And for folks who are joining us now in the chat, we've dropped some of the links where you can access the podcast as well as the resources that we have along with that, which includes transcripts and some self-led discussion guides that you can use if you want to, make an activity out of it with your friends or just on your own to really do some introspection work and really deepen the knowledge that you carry in terms of the work that we are doing. But just wanted to uplift that was in the chat. Also for folks who are just joining us, we have now enabled live transcription. So you have the option of in your settings, depending on what device you're on, to be able to view subtitles as we are speaking. Wanted to uplift that as well for folks who wanted to check that out. But with that being said, we're actually gonna move on to our committee updates. And so I mentioned earlier that for folks to become outside members, we ask that they are involved in the work that our various committees are doing to support Initiate Justice as a whole. We have various committees that you'll be hearing from in a couple of minutes, and each committee has either 1 or 2 committee leads, and they are the ones that basically host meetings for their committee members to meet and discuss the work that each committee is tasked with doing. So the first committee that we'll be hearing from is our advocacy committee, which is co-led by our policy team, Greg and Sarah. So I'm actually going to pass it over to them to talk a little bit about their committee and what they've been up to.
Yes, thank you, Daisy. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good to see you all. My name is Greg. I serve as the policy manager for Initiate Justice. I use he, him, his pronouns. Along with my colleague, Sarah, we co-lead the advocacy committee, which supports Initiate Justice legislation and the work we're doing in the Capitol. So we currently have 2 co-sponsored bills that are moving forward in the legislative process. They are AB 256 with Mr. Kalra, the California Racial Justice Act for All, which we will be hearing from him later this evening, which will be very exciting. So jot down some good questions, save some good questions for him so you can ask him in a little bit. And we also have AB 292 with Assemblymember Mark Stone, which is the Access to Programming Act. AB 292 is related to in-prison programming and removing the barriers that folks face while they are incarcerated for getting into some of these programs, such as long wait lists, frequent transfers, schedule conflict with jobs, things like this. So both bills cleared the Senate Public Safety Committee, which is a really key step and, really, really good news for us. AB 256 passed it on 2 Tuesdays ago, the 29th, and AB, I said 256 passed on 6/29, and 292 passed yesterday on 7/6, July 6th. So both bills now go to the Fiscal Committee in the second house, which is the Appropriations Committee, and they will not be acted upon until August, so late August. So we'll have about a month here of like relatively quiet time with bills, not necessarily having a lot of action items and moving forward, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done to sustain the momentum and to, keep up the support. And I just want to like very quickly like zoom out a little bit and like talk about what it means to say that like the bill passed Senate Public Safety and the bill is going to approps. The legislative process, has a bunch of steps, but it really does boil down to like a very like basic formula. Right, you introduce a bill, you go to a policy committee, a fiscal committee, you vote on the floor of the House that is introduced. So an Assembly Bill AB, Assembly Public Safety, Assembly Approps, Assembly Floor. You flip, you go to the other House on the Senate side, Senate Public Safety, Senate Approps, Senate Floor, and then you get it past all those steps. It goes to the governor signs it, and you've just turned your bill into a law. So we're like more than like halfway through the process, right? There's 2 or 3 more steps to go for us to turn these bills into laws and to have a great impact and to make a lot of really, really good change with both of them. So we appreciate everyone who's been coming to the Advocacy Committee and has been supporting Initiate Justice legislation. It is with y'all's support and with y'all's efforts that we're able to be successful and to keep pushing these really amazing bills. I also wanted to announce a couple events that we have coming up or that are reoccurring. Next Tuesday, we have our policy office hours, which are hosted by myself, the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 6 p.m., where we come, if y'all can join me, we talk about policy, what's going on with our bills, other bills that we're supporting, and other things just about California and legislation and things like that. So I definitely welcome everyone to join me there. The following Tuesday in 2 weeks is our proper advocacy committee meeting, where Sarah and I walk folks through all of the updates for this month, where our bills are, how you can support, action items, things like that. So hope to see you all there. And finally, the third event for this month is with Sarah, is the Abolition Corner, which is the space to really unpack and discuss some of the work of abolition and with our podcast and some of the other things we're trying to work through and to talk about. And I would welcome everyone to join me and Sarah in these meetings. They're really great. And with that, you can email me. I'll put my email and my colleague Sarah's email in the chat. Mine is just greg@initiatejustice.org. Sarah is policy@initiatejustice.org. So we definitely welcome folks getting in touch with us, and we're here to help y'all and answer any questions and things like that. So just drop us a note if you want to talk more, but otherwise I hope to see you at our future events. And I just appreciate everyone for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And for folks who have not seen the chat, Greg's email is greg@initiatejustice.org. And Sarah's is policy@initiatejustice.org. And yes, Larry, we will drop the link for the July calendar of events in a moment. For folks who are new, we have and we'll show this at the end by sharing our screen. We have a calendar that you can see and click on the links of when each of these events is taking place that various committees will be hosting throughout the month. So we'll be sharing that in a second so you can access that. But next up, I'm actually going to pass it over to Crystal, who's our Inside Membership, who leads our Inside Membership Committee.
Thank you, Daisy. Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal, she, her. I am the Inside Membership manager with Initiate Justice. And what that means is that I am responsible for communicating with our inside members. And that means adding names to our database, responding to their mail. And I work with the comms team to create this beautiful new magazine that we have put together. So the last time we had a member meeting, we had 38,424 members. Today, we have 42,079 members. So we saw a big jump. Cannot do math right now, but I'm pretty sure that's like over 4,000 members. I want to give a huge shout out to the 40+ volunteers who have been entering names on their own time. Everyone who has come to a data entry night, whether that was the outside organizer data entry night. Mackenzie, thank you to you and your high school student actually pushed us to the 40,000 line a couple of weeks ago. So thank you everyone so much for being a part of that. If you would like to enter names on your own time or host a data entry night with a group or a group of friends, let me know and we can make that happen. We still have a couple thousand names to enter because our magazine was just so fantastic and popular in there, and Lee's inside organizers have been adding new folks nonstop. So thank you to all of the volunteers who have been working tirelessly to enter those names. And I'd like to repeat what Antoinette says, and she says it's not just a number, that's 42,079 loved ones, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, and people that need to come home and need to be home. So please, let's keep that in mind moving forward as we see this number keep getting bigger and bigger. Also, for the in-person mail nights, thank you to all of the volunteers who have driven to downtown LA to help us respond to mail. We had 2 this past month, and we responded to a total of 114 letters. And y'all helped me separate hundreds and hundreds of mail. So thank you so much to everyone who has participated. Our next in-person mail night is Friday, July 23rd from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm going to drop the interest form in the chat. So please show up if you can. Only difference with this mail night is that we will be providing daycare. So if you have children, fill it out in the end, tell us how many children will be coming and the age ranges. So I hope to see you all there to help me respond to our 42,000 inside members. And lastly, our next committee meeting is Wednesday, August 11th. This month, I was unable to do it at my regular time, so I had it yesterday, so I apologize if you missed that. But email me, crystal@initiatejustice.org if you have any questions, concerns, or if you want to help with any of the things that I just talked about. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Crystal, for that. And next, we're going to go ahead and move it along to our unofficial hype man, Lee, who leads our inside organizing committee.
What is up, my abolitionist allies? My name is Lee Gibson, the Inside Organizing Manager here at Initiate Justice, and I just want to say and reiterate what they have already said. Congratulations to Crystal, Michelle, and Antoinette. It's duly deserved. Y'all have been doing a splendid job here at IJ. And I got some feedback that really starts to echo for me. And thank you. Well, see, Rashida kicked it off with the healing whispering that she gave us, that I was able to remain calm during the echo. Thank you so much. So the IO committee, we meet this Thursday, the 8th at 5:30. And what we do with the inside organizers is we educate, activate, and organize our inside loved ones to get them behind us, get them in the forefront of this movement of abolishing prisons and getting legislative processes and bills and policy change. They lead the charge in civic engagement and what we do in this social justice movement. We can't do it without them. We can't do it without their loved ones. We can't do it without their family members. We currently have 173 inside organizers, and what that means is they've gone through a correspondence and a curriculum process where they learn about the legislative process, they know it inside and out. As our policy professor Greg was talking about the process of how a bill becomes a law, they learn these things and they educate and activate their fellow peers inside the institutions to get everybody on the same page and making sure that we're dismantling the prison system here in California. Next, we move on to some phone training, having folks become senior inside organizers. These are the folks that are standouts inside that really kind of take the reins and want to educate and activate everybody on their institutions and every institution that they go to. So they go through an extensive process. On top of that, I see some of the phone trainers that are here today, and I just want to acknowledge you and all the hard work that you do and taking the phone calls and making sure that you're there for the folks that are inside when they call, and you're ready to go ahead and support them in their movement and their effort to be able to better activate the folks that are inside. And then we have mentors, folks inside that we want to be able to train and to be able to elevate to where they can take this whole training process on their own, have classes inside, teach the folks in there about the legislative process, about civic engagement. So not only can they effectuate the laws and the bills from inside, but when they come home, that they return to this movement and they join us and they support us out here. So with that said, the IO committee meeting is this Thursday at 5:30. Support is needed, not only with curriculum grading, but with phone training, and also with just your educated minds and the abolitionist mindset that you have and the views that you have to be able to bring to the table, so we can continue to be innovative in this process of dismantling the prison system here in California. So with that said, you can hit me up at lee@initiatejustice.org anytime, whether you just want to talk or whether you want to join the committee. It's much appreciated, and I'll try to answer your emails as quickly as possible. And with that, I will turn it back over to the lovely Daisy.
Thank you so much, Lee, for all of those wonderful alliterations that you always bless us with in every meeting. So next up, we're actually going to hear from my colleague Antoinette, who co-leads the outside membership committee with myself for updates as far as like what our members have been up to.
Thank you, Daisy. So yes, our outside membership committee, what we do is we find ways to develop our existing outside membership base and outside organizing base, and also find ways to expand and build our power here on the outside. So I am the outside organizing manager. Daisy is our statewide advocacy manager, and collectively we work with our outside members and our outside organizers to find ways to invest in, provide resources for, and further develop the advocacy skills of you all and our other members and organizers. But also we find ways that we can conduct outreach to further build our power, increase our numbers, because we know that with having political power, we find our power here at the grassroots level in numbers. And so that is what the outside membership committee does. Currently, what we're working on and what we discussed at our last outside membership committee meeting is our legislative fact sheets, which we are still in the process of creating, which we are about halfway through the Senate. We're about a fourth of the way through the Assembly. What these are these are sheets that provide information and a little bit of background on your representatives. That way, when you go into meetings like our summer legislative visits that are coming up and our spring legislative visits that we had, you have a little bit of background on the representatives you're meeting with, and you know something about your representative to begin to build those relationships from a starting point, as opposed to going into meetings not really knowing the representatives that you're meeting with. So that's a resource that's been asked for, that's been highly requested, and that we're working with our outside membership committee to build for all of you. And then we're also working on reaching out to additional potential outside members, so increasing our numbers. And so from our over 42,000 friends and family inside California state prisons, we are receiving referrals of their family and friends here on the outside who may want to get involved with Initiate Justice. We know that what plagues our communities the most is our lack of access to and our lack of familiarity with programs like Initiate Justice or organizations like Initiate Justice and other outlets for us to positively use our voice and uplift our stories and fight for our own freedoms. And so what we're doing is we're meeting people where they are. We're reaching out to them. Hey, your loved one incarcerated at this particular prison asked us to connect with you and let you know that we're here, that we exist. We offer healing circles, we offer legislative advocacy, skill building, and we also offer ways for you to tangibly be involved in the movement to abolish prisons and to free your loved one. And so what we're doing with the outside membership committee is reaching out to those individuals and letting them know that we are here. So what we have coming up is a volunteer night, our outside membership committee volunteer night that's happening next Wednesday, July 14th, where we will be doing this particular task of outreach, adding these names into a system that will house them all, and then reaching out to those individuals by way of email, snail mail, or phone call, depending on what contact information was provided. Again, that's going to be next Wednesday, July 14th at 6:30 p.m. And then our next committee meeting is going to be Wednesday, July 28th at 5:30 p.m. Yes, our volunteer night is a virtual volunteer night. Our outside membership committee is spread throughout NorCal, SoCal, Central Valley. So we're going to have that first volunteer night virtually. So you can join by Zoom. The RSVP link will be dropped in the chat if it hasn't been already by my amazing colleague, Daisy. But definitely join us next Wednesday if you're able to. If not, you can catch us the last Wednesday of the month, July 28th at 5:30 p.m. And if you have any questions, you can email me at Antoinette@initiatejustice.org. You can email Daisy at daisy@initiatejustice.org, and I can put those in the chat as well.
Thanks, Antoinette. And I also just dropped all of those links in the chat. And again, these are going to be in the calendar of events that we'll be sharing here in a moment. But first, wanted to give space for our Healing Committee co-leads, Rashida and Indigo, to share updates about their committee before sharing that calendar of events with you all.
Hi, everybody. It is Indigo from the Healing Committee. And the Healing Committee, we really exist to say that we see you and that we see each other in this work against mass incarceration. And as abolitionists, we be burning ourselves to the ground. Oh, I'm getting a call from James.
I got you, sis. I got you if you want to. Okay. So improvising right now. Yes. So the Healing Committee is here to say that we see you and we love you and we hold space for you, right? And so with that being said, our updates are, we first want to thank everyone who came to our training. For those who are interested in being healing facilitators, we had a great turnout and we had great feedback. So thank you for that. So what we're going to do from there is send out an application for those who attended, just to get more information about your expertise and what you can offer to the Healing Committee, just to have a more structure set in place. Let's see, what else are we working on? Oh, because we've been having a lot of, our last meeting was like 50 participants joined or signed up for our incarcerated loved ones. We're looking to host an additional meeting just so we can have enough space for everybody to be able to process their experiences. So we're looking for that. Let's see, another update would be, I'm really improvising, guys. Another update would be, let's see. Oh, thank you for everyone who's been coming to our Healing Committee. Our Healing Committee is doing a lot of work with trying to find healing tools for those impacted inside. So that's something we're pretty excited about working on. And again, our Healing Committee is just growing every single day. And we appreciate you all for being vulnerable with us, coming and prioritizing your healing and your mental health. Our dates are as followed. We have our men's circle led by Graham and Manny, which will be happening July 12th. So please save the date. We have our incarcerated people who are impacted by incarcerated circle on July 21st. And we have our formerly incarcerated circle on July 19th. And then our Healing Committee will be the end Monday of the month, which is July 26th. So any questions or concerns or whatever you need, please email us. Me and Indigo are trying to do a better job with communicating as effectively as possible. But again, thank you for everyone who shows up in love and vulnerability. There's power in that. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Rashida, and for hopping in to do this on the spot. So we appreciate you. For folks who are brand new, so there you have it. First of all, thank you to all of our committee leads for that the report back as far as the work you are doing. For our members who are wanting to join in a committee, get involved, whether you're an ongoing existing member who wants to jump into a new committee or someone who's brand new and wants to see what these committees are all about, please fill out the link that is in the chat. It's bit.ly/joinij, all lowercase. And that will allow you to select which committee you'd like to be a part of. So that way we can get you added to their email list and you can get the updates from them as far as the meetings that they are doing, events they are hosting, and so forth. And for everybody who's been asking, I've been dragging out the calendar of events because I just wanted to give everybody the opportunity to share. In the chat is the link to our calendar of events. I'm just gonna quickly share my screen so that you all can see what that looks like. So this is what it is. So you'll see each of the events that we've announced is on the calendar. If you click on any of these, it'll take you to the link where you can RSVP for that event. And that's all you need. You just got to have the calendar of events, and that's your ticket to any of these amazing events that we'll be hosting for the month of July. So we hope that you'll be tuning into one of those events. But with that being said, I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague Antoinette, who's going to introduce the next portion, the next segment of our meeting for tonight.
Did you say me? Okay. All right. So today what we want to do is we want to give space for a very much needed discussion, and a discussion that we feel will be fruitful for us to have in community and in this safe space with other individuals who generally share our same vision for the future and our same vision, right, for abolition. So with the release of our Abolition is for Everybody podcast, what we intend to do is really spark those conversations between you all and your community members, you and your friends, you and your families, to really talk about what abolition is in a practical sense. And so in order for us to truly end mass incarceration, in order for us to truly abolish prisons, we know that we have to shift our culture. We have to shift it from a punitive justice standpoint. We have to shift it from an individualistic and a capitalist-based society to one that focuses on community care, focuses on transformative justice, centers our humanity and really true equity, and allow that to characterize our society. And how can we do this if we don't have these much needed and very important conversations that, yes, are sometimes extremely difficult, but once you have them consistently, once you have them in a safe space, they begin to become the norm. And that's essentially what we want to do. So we have to begin to understand that reform is a temporary reaction, whereas abolition is a real viable solution. And start thinking about and realizing abolition as a practice and not just a concept, because it's easy to say abolition and for people to immediately go to this very abstract, very mysterious, and very unknown concept. But we want to think about abolition and really accept it as a practice, and how else to do that but for us to practice it, right? So in light of recent things in our world, including the sentencing of Derek Chauvin, in light of the recent release of our Abolition podcast, we want to give all of you an opportunity to really kind of discuss some of these things. And something that I'm quoting from our podcast from Ms. Patrice Cullors is that we have to think collectively about what safety looks like for us. And that requires that we have to show up for the conversation and we have to show up for the practice. So today I'm just asking everyone to show up for the conversation. as we take a couple of minutes to just have a conversation around what abolition is to each and every one of us and how it applies currently and in the current state of our society. So before I do that, I just real quick want to go over the questions that we're going to discuss and then just give a little bit of guidance for how easy this conversation actually can be, because we don't intend it to be a difficult conversation. We know that it can be, but in this space, we don't want it to be a difficult conversation. So the 3 discussion questions that we're going to have, and we're going to break you all into breakout groups to have this discussion, but the 3 questions are going to be, do you consider yourself an abolitionist? Why or why not? What is one way that you can, or that you do, actively practice abolition in your daily life, even if you don't consider yourself an abolitionist? And the 3rd question is going to be, how has the sentencing of Derek Chauvin challenged your views or your abolitionist views? And what are some ways that we can redirect our energy to abolition as we process these feelings and or challenges that have come up? So real quick, there is a 12-step, and I know that sounds extreme, but there's a 12-step or 12 principles that Patrice Cullors has, and I'm just going to put these in the chat because they're very basic principles as far as how you can practice abolition in your daily life. So I'm putting those in the chat right now. And it's just basic stuff like having courageous conversations, allowing yourself to feel, building community like y'all do with us every single first Wednesday of the month. Simple things like that. So Daisy's going to get us into breakout groups. Use those 12 principles to kind of guide and identify some ways that you practice it in your own life, and address those couple of questions with your with the members in your breakout room for about 10 minutes here tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Antoinette. And so we dropped the discussion questions in the chat as well, but we'll also be highlighting them in like the breakout session announcements. But with that being said, we're going to go into breakout rooms for a little bit and then come back just to see what your conversations led to. So see you all in a little bit. All right, I see the numbers climbing up. I think we have everybody back. Yeah, okay, awesome. So thank you all so much for participating in this activity. This gives you all an opportunity to connect with one another now that we're in the virtual space, but also we believe that it's important to have these conversations. But before we kind of circle back and debrief on what that was like for some of you, I wanted to actually give space for some grounding, because some of these conversations may have been tough. I think abolition, there's various ways to practice it, but definitely listening and talking about it is one way to do so. So I wanted to actually have someone from our healing committee ground us before we dive into the conversation. So Rashida, if you're able to just give us a short meditation to get us grounded before we dive into a debrief on what these conversations were like, we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, and it will be very short. So again, I'll just ask that comfortable position. And then this time, if you can, just take your hands, and as you come up to center, you inhale, right? So as you go up, you just inhale and bring it down, and exhale, big. Breathe in, really big. And then as you come down, just exhale and just kind of shake it off. I know that conversation just brought me like a lot of anxiety. I felt like a little bit uneasy. I wasn't able to fully say. So whatever you're feeling, just breathe it out, and know that there is space to talk about it at a later date. All right. So
thank you, Rashida. And it really is about release as you let go of what you experience. And so we just wanted to take a couple of minutes to see if folks had anything they wanted to share about what that was like for you. If you have any reflections or thoughts you wanted to share with the larger group, maybe it's your first time hearing about what abolition is and learning about it. Maybe you're someone that's still working on coming to terms with it. Maybe one of the questions brought up a lot of feelings for you. If you're comfortable sharing, please feel free to raise your hand. And I think Lorena wanted to share. So Lorena, I wanted to give you space. And again, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. My name is Lorena, and I just want to say thank you for having this. It's my first time here, and I've been trying to get on in these meetings. I'm glad I made it. But just being able to have a conversation with Greg and Alicia was just amazing, because I could connect with someone with my views and then also learn from what they think, So it's just, this was like very informational for me just for those 3 minutes. I honestly felt that we needed break rooms with longer time, because our conversations weren't done, but that's the beauty of communicating, of community, of coming together and talking about conversations that we need to have, so thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lorena. And it's always nice to hear the perspective of somebody who's joining us for the first time about what that was like. So we really appreciate you sharing and being here with us tonight. I see Sarah, our policy fellow, also wanted to share. So Sarah, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey y'all, I'm Sarah. I'm the policy fellow here. This is my mom. I'm with her tonight. But I just wanted to quickly say that this is what we do, exactly what we do in Abolition Corner. So if y'all felt like you wanted more time, come join Abolition Corner. It's on the 3rd Tuesdays of every month. But also the people in my group, let's finish that conversation. Thank you for holding that space. And I always learn from you, and I get so excited talking about these things. So I just wanted to say, let's continue the conversation at Abolition Corner.
Thanks, Sarah. And we'll share the link in the chat in a second so you can RSVP for that as well while we're on that topic. But I know Mireya had shared in the chat that they also wanted to share, just couldn't raise their hand. So feel free to unmute yourself, Mireya, if you wanted to share your experience was like tonight.
It's always so exciting to get different perspectives. I was super excited to have new people that I had never seen or interacted with the IJ family in my breakout. And I am excited because they brought such a fresh perspective to sometimes what we grow up learning or seeing or even researching or diving into, even with the podcast. And your mind kind of gets stuck on what affected you personally, and then when you hear it from somebody else's perspective, it allows you to see it from a different point of view and just give you even more reasons why we do what we do. So I just found that really exciting for them to be able to correlate it with even at home and how they raise their children and how young that starts, because I don't have a little one at home anymore. And so to know that their perspectives are from a teaching perspective and even at home was exciting to hear.
Thank you for sharing that, Mireya. I appreciate that. That was really nice to hear your thoughts on that. Blanca, I know you've been holding your hand up for a second, so feel free to unmute yourself and thank you again for sharing.
Hi, I just want to say thank you all.
That's my mom, Daisy.
Thank you for the only thing that I want to say is that, look, I'm going to be 62 this year. And one of the things that I was not raised and I did not get taught is that if you have someone that is incarcerated or has done time, whatever the situation, you don't share your business and you don't talk to anyone. So you go through your feelings by yourself, you go through it, and that's not something you share, which is, I so appreciate so many young people, and you guys are making an impact, and you guys are doing so great. And I'm so proud of your mom. I thank you for all of this, because all of that stuff, you wrap it up and you hide it and you put it somewhere because you don't ever talk about that. You still walk around with that hurt, and you walk around with the disappointment of what, you get failed so many times. So thank you.
Wow, Blanca, just want to let you know that there's so many people in this room that are giving you so much love tonight and just really appreciating you being here. and making space to have this conversation and hear. And you're Mireya's mom, and it's exciting to see you because we've seen Mireya talk about, the experiences that she encountered growing up and how that has transformed her into the person she is today. So thank you for bringing a warrior to the space and into the world, because we appreciate that, and sending you so much love. And again, thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to close it out with one last person that's going to share back, which is Jay, who's one of our newest outside organizers, as well as Mireya from the Fresno cohort. So Jay, feel free to close us up with these reflections.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, so our breakout room went very well. We had a gentleman, I think, who was new to the abolitionist scene and had some questions. So we kind of defined and unpacked what abolition looks like, as well as the rebuilding of the structure, and was able to answer some questions. So our conversation went slightly differently, but we were able to incorporate the prompts in as well. So I just wanted to say that, IJ is a place where you can come and bring your questions and we'll address it. And we appreciate all perspectives, and it's a place that is full of love, and I felt safe to share in our breakout room. So as I'm supported by my brothers and sisters. So thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And just real quick, before we pass the mic on to our very exciting guest that we have today, I just want to shout out that I'm putting some resources for you all in the chat, a resource guide that Initiate Justice has created for you all that has a section on prison abolition, some resources from Patrice Cullors, and even a YouTube video of our Webinar Wednesday series that we did in 2020 last year, where we had a discussion as well with Patrice Cullors regarding abolition, and then also going to plug our podcast in there for you all once again. But these are some resources to help you all continue these conversations at home with your friends, with your family, and in your communities. But thank you, everyone, for being engaged and being present for this tonight.
And thank you for that, Antoinette. Again, those resources are in the chat. We appreciate every single one of you who participated in these conversations tonight. We really, this work really requires us to dig in to these conversations and topics to continue to develop them. But we're gonna actually move on to the main portion of our program, our steak dinner, or our big fancy Mastro Steakhouse, whatever it is that your cuisine is tonight. We are being joined tonight by none other than Assemblymember Ash Kalra, who will be speaking to us about AB 256. But before I do that, I wanted to just give you all just a brief introduction as far as who he is, so you know who is joining us tonight. Assemblymember Ash Kalra represents California's 27th district, which encompasses approximately half of San Jose and includes all of downtown. He was first elected in 2016 and became the first Indian American to serve in the California state legislature in state history, and was reelected to his third term in 2020. In the state assembly, he has authored successful legislation promoting secure and peaceful communities for all residents, including protecting and preserving civil rights and civil liberties, and has really dedicated his tenure in public service to equity and social justice issues. For example, to confront racism and systemic bias in our systems of justice, he authored the historic California Racial Justice Act of 2020, which is a landmark bill that addresses racial discrimination in criminal sentencing and convictions. And you'll actually be hearing a little bit more about that bill in tonight's conversation. He also previously served on the San Jose City Council for 8 years and was formerly a deputy public defender for Santa Clara County for 11 years and represented clients in dozens of felony jury trials. As a public defender, he represented indigent clients in both felony and misdemeanor matters, and a majority of his time was spent in drug treatment court, where clients were given the opportunity to complete a rehabilitation program and turn their lives around. Assemblymember Kalra was born in Toronto, Canada, and moved to California as a young child, residing in the same South San Jose neighborhood where he grew up. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Assemblymember Kalra. I'm actually going to turn it over to Taina, who's going to moderate this portion of our segment tonight.
Thank you.
Wow, Assemblymember Kalra, I hope that you feel thoroughly awkward after that long introduction.
I always hate long introductions, but we had to make sure we put some respect on your name and shouted out all of your accomplishments. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. So of course, like, we're so grateful for all of the amazing work that you do. But our members here tonight, I think, are really interested to learn a lot more about AB 256 in particular. So in your own words, I'm hoping that you wouldn't mind sharing with us what you think the importance of AB 256 is and why it's critical for us to pursue racial justice in this way now at this moment.
I just want to start by thanking Initiate Justice, Taina. Thank you, Daisy. Thank you to everyone that's here for allowing for these conversations to occur, because these conversations evolve into law. And that's really how it starts. It starts with community. It starts with those that are impacted, those closest to the pain that come forward with that pain. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And so AB 256 is a follow-up to AB 2542, the California Racial Justice Act. And as mentioned, I worked as a public defender for 11 years, from 97 to 2008. And that's, in Santa Clara County, they were just locking people up left and right. 3 strikes, war on drugs. There's no doubt about it that race played a pivotal role in the outcomes, whether it was intentional or conscious or not. That's the reality of it. And in recent years, it's been great because we've done things I never imagined we could have done, whether it's the felony, amending the felony murder rule, whether it's getting rid of drug sales priors, prison, the felony prison priors. We've done a lot of great things, but those things are dealing with kind of the symptoms of the structural racism that exists in our system. Now, they're very good that we're doing that, but at the end of the day, unless we get to the root cause of what is creating these disparities, we're not doing enough. And so what the Racial Justice Act does, it actually, to get the little legalese here, there's a case from 1987, McCluskey v. Kemp from Georgia. It was a death penalty case with a Black defendant. You have the lawyer made the argument, and he made it correctly, that because his client was a Black man, he was 4 times more likely to get the death penalty. The Supreme Court of the United States agreed and said, yes, lawyer, you are right. The accused has a greater chance of getting a death penalty, but too bad. You can't do anything about it. Unless you can show intentional racism, you can't do anything about it. Here we are in 2021. Like, how many cases are there where the cops or DAs are frankly dumb enough to be intentional in their actions in that sense? And the reality is that most racism comes through in unconscious bias, implicit bias. So what the court said back then is, you can, if states wanted to put forward their own legislation, they can do that. Well, here we are, and it's 33 years later, last year, and we introduced the Racial Justice Act. And what that does, it actually allows the accused to have their attorney challenge the arrest, conduct during the case, conviction, and sentencing based upon racial bias. And what that means is, and it's by county. So if you live in a county where it's very clear certain races are being targeted, or I'll give an example of commercial burglaries. If 95% of those that are given gang enhancements in commercial burglaries are Latino, you can challenge that. And if a judge agrees, you can get the gang enhancement stricken. Now you may still get convicted of the auto burglary or the commercial burglary if you're guilty of it, but it takes the racial bias element that is so obvious out of it. And we see this really in death penalty cases, LWOP cases. We see the disparities that are so apparent in how Black and brown accused are treated. And so this is considered landmark legislation. We're the first state in the nation to have it. We're sharing it with other states, so hopefully they'll copy us and follow along. But unfortunately, during the process of getting it through last year, we had to get rid of all the retroactivity, which basically means anyone that's been previously convicted, tough luck. It was a very difficult decision to make, but when we made the decision, I promised everyone that we're not going to leave anyone behind. So we got the Racial Justice Act passed into law. It went into effect January 1st of this year. And this year we introduced AB 256, the Racial Justice Act for All, to make the Racial Justice Act retroactive. So everyone that's been convicted, everyone that's currently on death row, everyone in prison, anyone that has immigration status in jeopardy or they're undocumented, regardless, they now, if we get this to the governor's desk and signed, can also take advantage of justice, true justice in their cases as well.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you also for like being true to your word. I know like we have worked on a lot of legislation that isn't retroactive. So thank you for like actually coming back and giving us the opportunity to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I had, look, you know, I have clients that are in prison right now or that spent many years in prison that could take advantage of this. I wasn't going to leave them behind or anyone else behind.
No, thank you so much for that. But that brings me to my next question, which I think, you know, this is kind of like the details, right? Like, okay, let's fast forward to January of next year. Once this actually passes, for folks who like have loved ones inside, can you talk through like what some of the grounds would be for a successful Racial Justice Act petition that an incarcerated person could pursue next year?
So the first thing you have to do is you have to show a prima facie case, which basically means that you have to put forward some facts. You can't just say, I'm a Black man or I'm Latina, and because of that, I'm being discriminated against. There's got to be something that you can put forward. Now, it doesn't have to be like, you know, clear and convincing evidence or beyond a reasonable doubt. You just have to put something forward that at least gets the court to say, okay, they put forward some evidence. It could be disparities in sentencing, maybe in your particular county for the same type of charge. A white man doesn't get prison, but a Black man gets prison at a rate 5 times more likely. That right there is a prima facie showing, right? And so it doesn't take a whole lot, but it does take some facts and details. And that's, you know, so right now it's incumbent upon the DAs to provide those facts or for the courts to put forward those statistics. And it's going to be critically important to have expert witness in criminology, expert witnesses that are lawyers at law schools that can come forward and say, yes, based upon this data or based upon coded language. That's another example. So if a DA, and this happens all the time, a DA makes references to the accused, oh, they're a thug, oh, they act like an animal, they're running rampant across our neighborhoods, you know, doing this, that, or the other. A lot of coded language, and we know what it is, but we have to make sure the jury knows what it is. And that's where it does take expert witnesses and what have you. And don't sell anyone short in terms of who can be an expert witness, because those that have greater expertise and experience could potentially petition a court to be an expert in terms of how this language is used. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be a linguistics professor, what have you, although that would be great, but it could be someone that has some level of expertise. And so if you can put that forward, then a court could have a hearing. And the way it would work, a court would look at all the facts and make a determination as to whether the race played a role in the outcome, the ultimate outcome. And ultimately what's going to happen are 2 things. One is in the short term, cases are going to be appealed. In fact, there's already appellate courses happening, which is good. We want the appellate courses to give some structure to the Racial Justice Act, to actually, you know, say, yes, you know, this fact pattern here is enough to overturn a case and to cause a new trial, or to overturn a sentencing and cause resentencing. So that's a good thing. That's going to be happening over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The other thing, and this is really what I hope for, is long-term behavior change. We do have younger DAs and police officers, and they are different. I mean, I came in the 90s as a public defender. I'll tell you, the DAs, some of the DAs now coming in, and we already see it. There are 4 very progressive DAs that run DAs offices in our state that supported the Racial Justice Act officially. The Prosecutors Alliance supported it officially. So what we hope is that eventually when they start seeing these cases overturned, well, that's going to start to create behavior change. They're going to take a closer look as to how they're charging their cases. Law enforcement is going to take a closer look as to how they're conducting themselves. And so I hope that it may be a generational change. It may take a generation, 10, 20 years to see that full shift occur. But because of the Racial Justice Act, it forces all of us to look in the mirror, including defense attorneys, because there's absolutely situations where defense attorneys, public defenders can also exhibit racial bias as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for breaking it down, because I think, you know, those are like the main questions that come up for people. It's like, all right, we passed this bill. now what? Like, how can this support my loved one? So right now, AB 256 just passed the Senate Public Safety Committee. Yay, we've almost cleared all of our hurdles. We just need to get through Senate approach, Senate floor, and get the governor to sign it. So based on where we are right now, how can somebody support AB 256?
So right now it's scheduled to go to Senate Appropriations. And so really what we need to do is let the Senate Appropriations, Chair Portantino, the members know that, hey, we support the Racial Justice Act. There are some costs involved, but just so you know, we did amend it. We did not amend it to cut out anyone. We phased the retroactivity because, of course, those that are on death row, those that are in prison right now, those that are serving long terms, those in there for life, we want to make sure they can take advantage of it right away. And so they're going to be the first kind of shift of folks that can take advantage of it retroactively. And then we tiered it over the next couple of years. So we made the retroactive a little bit more cost effective. And so that helps us in appropriations and reducing the overall cost. Although I will tell you that overall, the Racial Justice Act will save money, because if someone's spending life in prison or on a sentence and they end up getting their sentence reduced, or someone has a 15-year sentence gets reduced to 5 years, well, guess what? That 10 years less just saved taxpayers $1.5 million. And so we were making that argument as well. And so I got distracted there because there's so many good arguments for the Racial Justice Act. But yeah, contact your senators, contact your individual senators. Because I'll tell you, as a legislator, the most significant feedback we get are either from organizations that have a powerful voice or constituents. I'll say that because you could be a member of that organization and a constituent. But make sure you contact everyone, find out who your senator is, and contact your senator in support of AB 256, and make sure that not only through appropriations, or when it gets to the floor, if we can get this to the governor's desk, then we'll shift our attention to the governor, who did sign the Racial Justice Act last year. So that was fantastic. He's been very committed to criminal justice and racial justice in terms of our criminal justice system, and has supported this and many other issues. So I feel confident, not overconfident, but confident the governor will sign it. We have to get it to him first, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll just also put a plug. Senator Portantino is the chair of the Appropriations Committee. So if anybody here lives in that district, it would be really helpful for y'all to make a call there as well. We have 2 more questions, but honestly, I think I'm gonna just kind of like consolidate them so that we can reserve a little bit of time if folks have questions at the end. But Assemblymember Kalra, what do you think is on the horizon for criminal justice reform in California? And not only like what is on the horizon, but like what future changes would you like to see to help us end mass incarceration in our state?
So a couple of things. One, in terms of the horizon, look, I was in our Judiciary Committee the other day on the Assembly when Senator Bradford brought forward his police decertification bill. And as oftentimes is the case, these bills get amended and they're not as strong as when they started. And that's not the fault at all of Senator Bradford or advocates, but it's part of the process. And it's the unfortunate part, because the reality is, and I said this during the hearing, is that, because someone made reference to, a few bad apples, and yes, there are, but the reality is that we have a completely rotten to the core system. The tree is rotten. And how do we get that across to folks? Because, last year, millions marching in the streets. We had, the majority of Assembly members, some of the senators taking a knee outside the Capitol. How do we get past this performative stuff where people do things for photo ops and actually understand, not only is to support this movement, but understand fundamentally why we have to throw off, to uproot this system, to recognize how, you can't in one breath, be at a march or or say Black Lives Matter and put it on Instagram. You can't do that and not recognize that we have to dismantle our criminal justice system. Like it's such obvious hypocrisy. And in some cases, I think fundamentally, there are some folks who just understand. Like they're like, well, we still want our police, we still want to be safe. they've gotten completely twisted over generations of what it means to be safe, what public safety means, plus what's safe to them. You know, a police officer rolling through their neighborhood, that may make them feel safe. It doesn't make a lot of other communities feel safe. And so that's where we have to pull back from this idea of what public safety is, and all of us that are here have to redefine it, which means a couple of things. One is we have to continue to decarcerate, continue to put more resources into our community. Crisis Act that Senator Kamlager has, which, you know, sending folks to calls that are not law enforcement, that don't have a badge and a gun, but sending actual professionals, mental health, homelessness response professionals, family violence professionals that actually have that kind of expertise. It is good that officers are getting trained in that. I'd rather have them trained in that than not, but they're still not the experts in it, right? And so let's send those that are properly trained. Let's close prisons, and for those prisons that do exist, let's transform them. Let's actually make them into places that uplift people. I've seen it. I know that a lot of advocates have had the opportunity to learn more about it. I went on the trip to Norway and Finland and seen how they've transformed some of their systems, and some, you know, where even those that get what would be, you know, what we consider prison sentences, they actually never even go to prison. You know, they get and one of the things that the deputy warden at the prison in Norway said is, our goal the moment someone steps into our prison is to make them a good neighbor, because their goal is to get them out and to be a good neighbor. So that means you educate them, you take care of them, you give them a humane place to live, right? And so there's a lot of elements to this, because we know that we can't snap our fingers and have the prisons closed tomorrow. So what do we do in the meantime to make sure we create more humane spaces and make sure that we are not sending more people to prison, and we continue to decarcerate and invest in our communities and not in our policing?
Yes, well, thank you, Assemblymember. You did not come to play today. I don't know if you've been watching the chat blowing up, but definitely feeling what you have to say. Man, and we're so grateful that we have an incredible advocate like you in the legislature. I also want to share with you, starting in a couple of weeks, actually, we're going to launch an Institute of Impacted Leaders cohort in San Jose.
Yes.
So we will be training up some folks in your district. So we'll make sure to keep you plugged in.
Oh yeah, you have to invite me to that.
For sure. So we do have about 8 more minutes before we wrap up this section. So I do want to open it up for questions. So if folks want to just raise their hand, that might be the easiest thing, because then I can see you pop up, or you can just write stack in the chat if that's easier for you, if folks have questions or just want to tell Assemblymember Kalra how awesome he is. I feel like that might also be a thing. Okay, I see that Jay raised your hand, and then Oka. So let's go Jay, Oka, Crispy. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, Senator Ash, you're a beast. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
You are one of us. Thank you for speaking for those without a voice. It's truly appreciated. Thank you for sacrificing yourself, for taking on the system. And then my only question to you was, you mentioned earlier about like certified expert witness testimony in court.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I've been seeing a wave of formerly incarcerated, formerly system impacted people taking these types of trainings to change the narrative and actually tell the truth about what happens with these enhancements and stuff. So my question to you was, do you know of anything on the books that bars formerly incarcerated people from testifying as experts? Or
there's nothing that formally bars it, because at the end of the day, all an expert is, it's not, you don't have to have a PhD. All an expert is someone that has greater knowledge on an issue than the average person and can speak to that issue. And so that's how police officers are able to testify as experts and everything, because they'll take a 2-hour class on something and then they go on the stand and they testify as an expert, right? So that, like, you know, those are aware of the court system, see that all the time. And so there's no reason, in my opinion, why you couldn't at least petition or try to bring your experience as an expert, particularly being system impacted, or being able to speak to coded language or slang or whatever it might be that may be used in terms of having racial bias. So I think I think Initiate Justice and other organizations should really work with others to figure out, okay, how do we create the arguments to allow system impacted folks to become experts, and depending on their area of expertise, and how do we also then create the arguments in court that actually allow the court to certify them as an expert, you know, and this is something we can engage with. In my hood, we have Silicon Valley Debug, who I know does a lot of work in the courts. I think there would be a great organization to partner with to kind of figure it out. This is all brand new, right? And so let's figure that out together.
Thank you, Senator Ash. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I saw Oka next in stack.
Hi, thank you, Taina. Hi, Assemblymember Kalra. I am an Indian American woman, and you inspire me. So thank you for everything you shared. When I was 9 months old, my mom was brutally murdered, and 22 years later, they arrested my father with no substantial evidence. And so I do believe that this Racial Justice Act would, you know, support him in a lot of different ways. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm going to drop a website here. If you feel called to click on it, feel free to. And also, you said one word earlier. You shared, I don't know if they did this consciously or not. So thank you for bringing that vibration into the political realm.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You know, the reality is that when we talk about policing issues, whether it's decertification or police violence, we talk about the Racial Justice Act, understandably. I mean, remember, everyone's human, including police officers, DAs, they get defensive because they're like, wait a minute, I'm not racist. And regardless whether you know the person or not, what I say to them is, look, if I could snap my finger right now and do the impossible and make sure everyone involved in the system, whether it's defense attorneys, judges, probation, police officers, DAs, didn't have a racist bone in their body, the outcome would still be racist because it's systemic. And so I try to get past the individual and speak to the systemic issues to try to get those that have the ability to create so much positive change as prosecutors, as law enforcement out there, to understand it's not about calling you out as an individual. It's just that if you're an individual in this system, you can't help but create racist outcomes, even if you're not racist at all. And so that's, I think, where it's really important for us to speak to the unconscious, implicit biases that have been created over generations in the times of slavery. And so if we don't recognize that and we just start name calling one person with that cop's a racist or that DA is a racist, it may or may not be, but at the end of the day, we're not going to get to an outcome that allows us to really get to the root cause.
Thank you. All right, and I'm going to pass it to Crispy.
Thank you. First of all, I'm from San Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate everything that you do. Really appreciate it. I have two questions. One, before you came, we all had a question about, are you a prison abolitionist? And so my first question for you is, one, do you consider yourself a prison abolitionist? And then my second question is around, I've been working with people trying to get out on 1170 D1, and like the whole system and the process kind of slows it down. I was just wondering, with the Racial Justice Act and the Racial Justice Act for All, what processes can we put in place to make sure that the mechanism, which is so oppressive, can actually see justice happen? Because sometimes we pass these laws or we change the penal code, but there's no process, or the people are not behind the process to make the process work. Thank you very much.
I mean, I'll start with the second part. Look, the laws are the laws. We pass them. They have to be implemented. And they're implemented by people that are flawed. Sometimes, in some cases, some DAs that don't want to follow it. I have a bill, the CLEAR Act, that got made a 2-year bill to root out white supremacists from law enforcement. We've gotten a couple of the big city departments to actually be supportive, but we know that it's going to be resisted by some of the other departments. And so we went and got to make sure the Attorney General and others have the opportunity. And I bring that up because ultimately laws are just words on paper, right? And it's up to the people to demand that we have good and just laws, and that we actually have laws that are enforced in a manner that bring about justice. And so it's frustrating, but I will tell you that, look, a lot of the laws we pass, I've met folks. I met our friend Adnan Khan, who was released after we amended the felony murder rule. So I mean, real people do get real positive outcomes from the work that we do collectively. Is it as much as we want, or does it go as far as we want, or as quickly? Definitely not as quickly. But that's why we have to be patient. Because I'm telling you, when I was I couldn't imagine some of the things we've been able to accomplish in recent years, having worked as a public defender during the years that I did. And I know many of you are either personally or have your family impacted, or have worked in the system for a number of years and have seen it yourself. But we've gotten some great accomplishments. We have to recognize that. We should celebrate some of the accomplishments we've gotten while recognizing that we still have a lot more work to do, a lot more people to save. And that goes to your first question about prison abolition. I am certainly an American prison abolitionist. I think the American prison system has been created in a way to really, just as an extension of slavery, as an extension of classism, and making sure that the poor know their place, and know not to rock the boat too much, and mess, and to protect wealth and protect capital. And so I absolutely, when I say American, prison, because I think that there are some situations where, where I think you could, if you could have a environment, whether it's Norway or some other place that have it, where you could have an environment where you need to take someone away, but to heal them, not to hurt them. I think that's the difference. And our prison system is meant to hurt, to damage, to instill violence. If we had a situation where someone needed to be rehabilitated, then we should focus on that. And I think that's where we should be turning our attention to.
Well, I know that so many other folks probably have questions and comments for you, but we are at time and I want to be respectful of yours and everyone else's time. So thank you so much, Assemblymember Kalra, for joining us here tonight, for all of the amazing work that you do in the legislature. We really know we can count on you as an ally and fierce advocate. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you all for everything you do. And let's get 256, SB2, everything else we're working on. Let's all get it done this year, and then we'll come back next year and keep working. Great to see everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, can everybody give Assemblymember Kalra some hand claps, some virtual hearts? Thank him. But again, yeah, thank you so much. And with that, to wrap us up in the meeting, I'm going to pass it back to Daisy.
Thank you, Taina, for moderating that portion of our program tonight. And I hope all our members that are here with us and also watching this later got a lot of good information out of this portion. I think a lot of the folks in the chat definitely shared what this meant to them as far as hearing it from him directly as the author of AB 256, and that is a bill that we are a proud co-sponsor of, and still working to get passed in the Senate, which is the second house of the California State Legislature. So just wanted to thank all of our members who made a phone call to their members to get it through the first house, who participated in a legislative visit, who shared a tweet, Instagram post, Facebook post, whatever it is, share the word about AB 256, and please continue to do so as we continue to work through the legislative process to get this bill all the way to the finish line. I saw a lot of people taking notes as Assemblymember Kalra was talking about the bill, so hopefully this will help many of our members, your loved ones, and everybody that we are still looking to help free from behind those prison walls. So again, thank you for being with us tonight. So to close us out, we always have at the very end of our meeting a segment where we highlight a member of the month. And basically, this is where we recognize an outstanding member who has made contributions to the work that we do at Initiate Justice and helped us really with various aspects of what we are trying to achieve organizationally. So we like to highlight them during this portion, and personally I just like to drag it out just because of the to hype it up and get them excited. I believe that person is in the room, but I'm going to withhold their name until after I share all of the amazing contributions that they've made to our team. So this individual is a graduate of one of our cohorts that graduated in 2020, which was the Zoom Institute, when we initially launched the Institute of Impacted Leaders via Zoom. So they completed that program, became an outside organizer in 2020, and since then has jumped in to help out in any way possible. So this individual has signed up to participate in multiple committees, attended various member meetings, always front and center, sharing their attendance with their social media fans and saying, come to the meetings. Also participated in helping us with data entry, which is, as Crystal mentioned earlier, is a crucial part of our work. We have so many people who write to us and say, can I get a newsletter when your upcoming one is sent? And this person has helped us out with entering over 80 names of individuals who want to receive the newsletter and facilitating our data entry events where we have our volunteers come and help us. They've also answered letters in their own spare time because we get mail from people who want responses as far as what's happening at IJ and various policy questions. So this person's also someone that responds to mail in their free time while also supporting their incarcerated loved one. And they have also used their bilingual skills to help us with translating the magazine that has now gone into several of our members, and also now just signed up to participate in completing what we are calling fact sheets, which are documents that we are creating to support our members as they do legislative visits. So this is a long list of things that this person has completed, and we just really want to recognize this member for the outstanding work that they are doing in their free time to help us achieve our end goal to end mass incarceration. So Roxana, if you are in the room, please feel free to unmute yourself. But I wanted to say congratulations for being the July 2021 Member of the Month. I hope you know that every single one of our team members appreciates all that you've put in to help advance our mission. And folks, please feel free to give her either an emoji round of applause or an emoji of your choice, actual hand claps, or cheering, rah rah rah, whatever it is. But Roxana, congratulations, and if you wanted to share anything, unmute yourself.
Oh my God, wow, thank you guys. It means a lot, it's like I do this obviously to end mass incarceration and help you guys out. And I don't expect anything in return, but wow, this is amazing. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Roxana, for choosing IJ as the org that you are devoting your time to. We sincerely appreciate it. And I don't have a real Rolls Royce or money to buy you one, but I hope you know that I'm sending you a Rolls Royce car in spirit as our Member of the Month for July 2020. But with that being said, so that is it for our July 2021 member meeting. Our next meeting will be taking place on Wednesday, August 4th at 6:30 p.m. So we'll be sharing out an email so that we all can RSVP and join us for another exciting event. And again, if you're here for the first time or wanting to sign up for a new committee that maybe you are not involved in, please feel free to sign up using the form that is in the chat. And we, again, are going to share the calendar of events in the chat one more time. That way you all can tune in to any of the events that are happening this month in July. It's going to fly by. And before you know it, it's going to be August, and we are going to be one step closer to the end of the legislative season. So please stay tuned in, plug in, follow our social media. We are at Initiate Justice on all social media platforms. Follow our new podcast at Abolition Is. Leave us some feedback. Do you like it? Is there something you want to learn more about? Use that feedback form to let us know what your thoughts are on the podcast so we can continue to bring you something that will be you can utilize as a resource as you continue to work on your own abolitionist journey. And yeah, I think other than that, Antoinette, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add in closing, but that is all I have for today.
No, I don't have anything else to add except for extreme gratitude for each and every one of you for engaging with us every first Wednesday of the month, for engaging in the conversation. and just for supporting this work of abolition that we know is only possible with each and every single one of you and all the support that we receive. So thank you, and thank you.
And for everybody who is here for the first time, please stay. We do have a very short orientation for our first time members, just to give you a brief overview about IJ. We know it's a long night, so we don't plan on keeping you long, but please stay for that orientation. Otherwise, folks, feel free to hop off, unmute yourself, say goodnight. Thank you for being in spirit with us and here in this virtual space. IJ fam, so good to see so many faces here tonight. And hope you all enjoy your Wednesday evening.